This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning this morning, and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. My name is C.A. Nuri, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. And I have an interesting topic. I want you to call in and text in, and just to join me and see where you think. I want to have a conversation about, again, who do you think we is? How does the world view us? What is it that we want to portray? And I want to also celebrate the arrival of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and welcome them to the Bahamas, right? So it's the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. The Queen of the Bahamas has ruled for longer than any other monarch in British history. She has ruled for 70 years. Understandably so, there is much celebration and jubilation. The jubilation is being celebrated throughout her realm and throughout the Commonwealth of Nations. The Bahamas is a part of the Commonwealth, thus we too celebrate. The Bahamas is a constitutional monarchy. The constitution that makes us Bahamian, the document that makes us a country, allows the Queen, our Queen, to share power constitutionally with our government. She is the de facto head of state, or purely, basically, a ceremonial leader. And like one member of parliament said some years ago or some months ago, she is the titular head. I hope I pronounced that right, because I remember the member of parliament had issues with it, right? So there are 15 constitutional monarchies under the Queen Elizabeth's control, right? They're called Commonwealth realms. And however, there are 54 Commonwealth of Nations. So there are Commonwealth nations and then there are Commonwealth realms. And the difference between the two is that the realms, which the Bahamas is a part of, has the Queen as the head of state. Whereas the 54 Commonwealth nations, they were countries which the British monarch had once control of or conquered, at one point in time. They were once a part of the British Empire, right? And I want to have a conversation on that, right? I welcome William and Kate and celebrate them as the heirs of my Queen. They have a space in the Bahamas because our royal opposition, our royal government, our royal police force, our royal defense force, our crown land belongs to her. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we forget our place and then question things which we don't understand. But who's to blame for that? Well, I have some concerns about the visit. Not that they shouldn't come, because I'm excited that they did come, and I encourage more of our Queen's family to come and have official visits. But I think that our government, our leaders, have a duty of care to explain things to us, and perhaps that will have less angst, right? People will understand why we do things, and the reason why we're having some angst is because we don't know ourselves. We don't know ourselves. So the number to call today is 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. And the text line, of course, is 422-4796, right? And I want you to tell me, where do you see the Bahamas in 20 years? Do you see us continuing to be subjects of the Queen? Well, it won't be the Queen. More likely, it will be King Charles or King William in 20-odd years, right? But where do we see ourselves? Are we comfortable of being subjects? And with being subjects, there comes with giving tributes. Because with each visit of the royal family, we must give our tributes because we are her subjects, right? And this subject, the tribute we give this time is we paying for the whole bill. And I'm hearing that it's $2 million, which is small, especially when you realize that she owns all the land, right? But I have a clip. My first clip, which basically explains why things happen. And I think that more people needs to appreciate who we are and what do we find. And I think few people realize that we are a monarchy. A monarchy, right? We are a monarchy and we have our own queen, and Queen Elizabeth is our queen. And she must be celebrated. And this is why when we have our swearing in of Parliament, we swear to her and her heirs and successors, right? So let me play that first clip.
Well, Mr. Nuri, good morning to your listeners. You asked for some kind of public explanation as to what's going on with this royal visit and why it's not as strange as it appears. You know, we've had royal visits, I guess, since I was a child. The first one was 1959 that I remember, and I think there's probably one before that. So Princess Margaret came, and that's when the hospital's name was changed from the Bahamas General Hospital to the Princess Margaret Hospital. And then in 1959, I remember that one. I was a primary school student, and Prince Philip came. And then there was the one in the 1960s when the Queen came under the UBP. And then there was another one in 77 when the Queen came and read the speech from the throne. There was another one during the Ingram administration. I think that was about 1995. You had Princess Anne here as well to celebrate I believe that was the 250th anniversary of parliamentary democracy in the Bahamas. Then you had Harry here, the one who's now left the job and gone to the States. He was here for one of those charitable works. So these are not unusual. And it works like this. People keep referring to Elizabeth, who up until recently was on the $100 bill, but they keep referring to her as the Queen of England, which of course she is, amongst other things. But she's also the Queen of the Bahamas. She's the Queen of Belize. She's the Queen of Jamaica. And up until recently, she was the Queen of Barbados. She's also the Queen of St. Vincent. Even though all of these countries are independent, they wrote in connection with the British when they got independence to keep the Queen as the head of state. So all of the functions of the government that existed before independence continued in the same way and vein after independence. And in fact, that was one of the selling points of the Pindling administration when they were plotting the independence way forward, was to say to the conservative elements in the Bahamas, look, things aren't really going to be that dislocated with independence because the Queen's still going to be the head of the country. So that's the constitution you have. The Queen is the head of state. Sir Cornelius is the representative of the Queen in the Bahamas. So he went down to the airport. He's the person who met the Duke and Duchess. And if the Queen came, he would be the person to go and meet. And the arrangements for this visit are being handled through Government House because, again, constitutionally, that's the office that is responsible for the head of state in the country. So if you accept that the Constitution you have, and the other thing, of course, is the oath that members of Parliament and senators make, which is to Elizabeth, her heirs and successors, and this is one of the successors in law, then what really is the quarrel with it? I mean, you know, people are complaining about the cost. Well, the cost is what it is. And, you know, at the same time, however, it is possible for there to be protests and dissent. It's a democratic country. It's a free and democratic country. And so the Reparations Committee has made its own statement. Even though the committee is appointed by the government, it has its own independent views. The government is committed to the request for reparations for slavery. We recently petitioned the American president to pardon posthumously Marcus Garvey for offenses for which he was convicted in the United States. So we are Africanist in that sense, and you know the fact is that there are others who want to have demonstrations. If they want to have those demonstrations, provided the demonstrations are lawful, no issue there. What I've said to the younger ones, and a lot of reporters ask me about this, is look, if you want to change this system, you have the power to do so. You know, it requires 2/3 majority in the parliament, and then 50% plus one to change the constitution. Unlike the situation in Barbados, where Errol Barrow wrote a constitution which did not require Barbadians to go to referendum to change the constitution. You've known all of you know the complications that have ensued and the political fodder and fight which happens whenever we've had a referendum in this country. So I don't think anybody's about to fool with that. But certainly, my mission when I was in high school in 1969 was to fight for independence of the Bahamas. We should have become a republic in 1973. We didn't. The people accepted a monarchy. That's the way it is. So we pay for it as it is. Make the best of it, in my view. Good publicity, good training for our security people and protocol people. We should have another one of these state visits later in the year with Mia Motley coming from Barbados, and let's do well with that as well. So I hope that summarizes and gets people to understand where we are on this issue of the royal visit. Thank you.
And that was Minister Fred Mitchell. He was my MP, and that's why I'm able to reach out to him every so often, and he obliges me by sending me a voice note to explain things. I let him know that I have an audience who wants to know, and I think that he understands that he's duty-bound to educate Bahamians on pertinent topics, and this is one of the topics I found interesting. Why haven't we become a republic? And he mentioned it, right? To become a republic, to move away from the Queen, unlike Barbados, we would have to go through a referendum. And Bahamians have proven themselves not matured enough to go through referendums. We tend to vote no. We tend to become emotional. We tend to ignore all of the facts and evidence and how important and heavyweight the topic is, and that it requires consideration, and vote purely on political motives and emotion. So it seems as if we will be under the Queen for a long period of time. And if we're going to be under the Queen for a long period of time, we must learn the protocols and the whereas and the happenstance and be comfortable with it. And stop nitpicking and complaining so much when this is what it is, right? I see that we are complaining about how much we are paying. And I think it's about $2 million, so I heard. And I was trying to find out, what exactly is this $2 million? I know we have to pay for room and board. We have to pay for food, entertainment, and I guess assume a number of miscellaneous things, right? Who knows? Maybe even insurance. But we also have to pay for overtime. Who getting overtime? The police and the defense force. I'm not sure if you saw that when the Duke of Cambridge and the Duchess drove past, there was a police officer on every street. And they had brand new uniforms. I mean, it was crisp and ceremonial for sure, and white. None were yellowing at all. The roads were paved. $400,000 worth of roads were paved in the last couple of weeks. Just something to celebrate. I wish that the Duke and the Duchess was passing through Fox Hill, because we have one or two roads that need some looking into. So I envy those persons who live on that Cable Beach stretch because they got a new paving. I see the places that they are visiting got cleaned up, fresh coat of paint, some cement. They had some good masons. So Bahamians are benefiting. They have some cultural things, but I know it's going to rain, so I'm not sure how that's going to go about, right? And hopefully they can do it at the banquet, right? There are some Bahamians who will benefit by being hired, and Jack Thompson, who heads the protocol division at Government House, and you know that the governor of the Bahamas is control of this ceremony and the protocols was happening. He said that this is going to be the best cultural event the Bahamas has ever experienced. The best. And you know, I into culture. So I wanted to experience what is the best. Because next year, we're going to be celebrating 50 years of being independent from Britain. See that oxymoron? Independent from Britain and still celebrating the Queen. But I digress. Don't worry about that. My point is, I expect the best celebration, cultural celebration, and activities to be done next year. And if this one is that good this year, I only could shudder at the wonderment of what can be experienced next year. But I have another clip. By Dr. Nicolette Bethel, who is asking some questions I asked, right? Why was the Bahamas selected this go round? And they said, shouldn't you be grateful that we were selected? But this is in 10 years because the Queen celebrated her other jubilee 10 years ago when they sent her other grandson, Harry, and he toured the same three nations, Belize, the Bahamas, and Jamaica, right? And again, 10 years later, the same three were selected. So I would like to know, why the same three? What is the importance of this tour? What is the objective of these tours? And there should be someone to explain it. One of my disappointments about this entire affair is that there was no national discord, no playing of old clips of the Queen, her sister, her husband, her son coming to the Bahamas, and we re-educating the Bahamian public on why these things occur. There was no educational process on what to expect. You know, information was slow in coming. And I'm a little concerned about that. No, because this is my Queen, I should know about these things. But producer, play that other clip for me so I can ask these same questions.
Anything. Britain and her monarchy are not coming to save us from anything. All right. So I think that is the discussion that we need to have. It's a symbolic relationship. Is the symbol serving us well? And do we really need it?
Bahamian scholar and playwright Dr. Nicolette Bethel questioned the purpose of the royal visit in the days of a modern Bahamas, while also questioning the Bahamas footing much of the bill.
I don't think that the Caribbean is a major part of the Commonwealth for the royal family, but maybe it is part of their, I don't know, maybe it's part of their identity. Maybe it's the kind of royal visit that's done by a future king. I don't know what the purpose of it really is, or maybe it is a show of monarchy and a test of the strength of monarchy, given the fact that Barbados just became a republic.
Bethel says she sees the possibility of the Bahamas leaving the Commonwealth in the future, possibly even this decade.
People need to understand what being a republic is, right? It doesn't mean that your system of government necessarily changes. There are many different kinds of republics. We tend to think of republicanism as being only as it is expressed in the United States of America. But there are many different forms of republicanism that exist. Barbados has one form, Trinidad has a form, Guyana has a form, right? Within the Caribbean itself.
Bethel says, at the very least, Bahamians owe it to themselves to have the discussion.
we are about to observe our 50th anniversary of independence. This kind of discussion, if it does not happen, then I blame us, the citizens, because we should be thinking about what it means to be a nation, all right? And what it means to be independent, and what we really should be thinking about and talking about. And we need to have these kinds of discussions.
For our news, I'm Cale Campbell.
And that was Dr. Nicolette Bethel. And she asked a number of questions I, too, felt some kind of way about, where do we see ourselves, But something she said that she sees the Bahamas becoming a republic, perhaps maybe in 10 years. I disagree. We ain't ready for that, nor are we showing any interest. No, there's no huge demand to become a republic. And in fact, we don't even understand what a republic is. I mentioned Barbados now because I thought they were completely out of the Commonwealth. They still have the Westminster system. They still have they're still a part of the Commonwealth where the Queen heads that. In fact, Britain sends money down there as investment. A number of their investments in terms of helping colonial countries goes to Barbados. I'm still trying to find out what is it that the British government and their systems send down to the Bahamas. But definitely, Barbados is attached, And I also appreciate her point that we need to start having tough conversations. That's what was lacking in this trip, right? There weren't enough conversation, positive and negative, about why the royals are coming here. Where do we see ourselves, the Bahamas, in 10, 20 years? What it is to be Bahamian is being ontologically British, a part of who we are. Are we comfortable of having these honors, sir? So we have our own honors now. And they're so watered down that people of class don't want that. They prefer to be knighted, right? They prefer to be knighted. And that is what is trending now. Everybody wants to be a QC, right? But we have a caller now, so let me see what the caller has to say. Go ahead, caller.
Hello?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, sir. Good morning. So how are you this morning?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. You are spot on. Listen, a lot of Bahamian has the conception that if we become a republic, Britain won't have anything to do with the Bahamas. They're absolutely incorrect. This is why they have to think hard about what they want to change the system to, because there are many republican systems of governance. Okay, we got a parliamentary system of republic. We got a federal system of republic, a presidential system of republic, and many others. So we have to be very careful when we say we want to be a republic, but we have to decide through a referendum which republic system suits the Bahamas best. Okay? Thank you, man.
And thanks very much for your call. And in fact, if we ever get to a referendum, slim chance, we're going to take the easy route. We're going to take the more likely the Barbados route where everything remains the same. And instead of having a governor general, we'll have a president. And more likely that president will have been knighted by the Queen, right? So we'll still have that English vestiges, right? But we have a commercial break right now. On the other hand, on the other end of the show, I want to discuss on what should have happened. What should have happened, and I'm going to go through some text. So this is Guardian AM Radio, and this is C.A. Nuri, and I'll see you on the next end.
Johnson insurance, peace of mind.
One thing there is no debate about is that BTC has the best rates. Now, the best rates just got better because you pay half the price of the other guys with your BTC home internet and mobile services combined. Switching to BTC is a no-brainer because I pay less with BTC and get super fast internet with speeds up to 600 megs. The other guys, their internet only go up to 105 megs.
Get all the internet you want at half the price when you bundle your home internet and mobile. Visit a BTC store to make the switch today. Conditions apply.
And welcome back to Guardian AM. And this is C.A. Nuri. First text says, whose fault is it that we don't know this history? If it's not taught in school, the average person will not seek it out. Well, there's a lot of things taught in school, and we need to actually seek these information out because the information is on the internet. It's not hard to be found, right? The next test says, please ask the minister why they are now paving the roads because of the royal visit, when our vehicles have been driving on and enduring the bad roads for years now. So we're not important till now? We pay plenty money on vehicle repairs. Shame on successive governments. So you can hear the arrogance in Mr. Mitchell's tune. I'm just glad the roads are paved. And if it takes more state visits and international visits from people, I say bring them on so more roads can be paved. I think we have another caller. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, Mr. Nuri. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Sparky.
Sparky here. You know, these questions have been asked so many times. I've grown up in this country watching the Queen visit here many times. I know she came in 1977 to open up ZNS. I think that was June 1977. She came here another time, and then her grandson, the other prince, was here one time. And you ever notice that they only go to one church, Christ Church Cathedral? You know, that's supposed to be the head church of the Bahamas, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
So when you hang up, I'll talk about that.
Hold on, that's okay. Hold on, give me a chance here, please, sir. Also, to the front seat of the church, the front pew, there's a staff there with the crown of the English crown on it. Only the Governor General and the Queen or her representatives are supposed to sit in that particular chair at any given time. The Governor General represents the Queen. I've seen them paint sidewalks white on the route where the Queen is coming from, either the yacht or the Yacht Botanica or the airport. The airport. I didn't actually paint the sidewalk white. You understand? But what I don't understand is they paint certain roads where the car going to drive on. But we have a representative of the House of Assembly, but also became a prime minister, that bragged about being in the House of Assembly for 40 years. On a road by the name of Mont Royal Avenue, we call it Hawkins Cemetery, from Shirley Street to Wolf Road, has never been paved yet by a man who's been in the House of Assembly for 40 years, never even paved the road when he grew up on. That's cannibals in a country like this. And we pave roads over and over, what people always getting paved.
And thanks very much, Sparky. And let me do a plea. I'll do a plea because this is a new day government, right? I think Minister of Justice is now the MP for Centerville. And I will make a public plea to him now. The road on Hawkins Hill needs to be paved. Sparky said it's never been paved and nobody ever noticed, right? So if anyone in the New Day government can hear my voice, the sound of my voice, please go and pave that road, right? To make everybody happy. But I want to say that there are a number of persons who are not happy with the visit of Kate and William. In fact, they're not happy with the whole monarchy being in charge of the Bahamas in general. I see that Sparky mentioned Christchurch Cathedral and whether that's the official church of the Bahamas, and I'm not sure. I know that England has an official state church where the Queen is the head of the church, right? But I'm not necessarily sure if that is so that the Queen is the head of the Anglican Church here in the Bahamas. But I know that synod that they all go and travel to the UK and speak to the bishop there. And that's something that we may have the discussion on. I know Father Sebastian Campbell is passionate about moving away from the crown. But he is an Anglican priest. So if it is true that the Queen is the head of the Anglican Church and that Anglicanism is a vestige of colonialism, perhaps he needs to check himself. Perhaps we need to abandon this Anglican religion altogether, because that too is a vestige of slavery. Because surely the Anglican Church also owned slaves. But I'll answer the call, and then after that we have a series of voice notes from the Reparation Group. This is Dr. Nyambi Campbell, and her letter, or their letter, the association letter, has went viral. It's being played in almost every country around the world because of how detailed it was, and it gave the culture and the sediments of the Bahamas. And she sent me some voice notes also explaining that. And if you have a chance, you need to go and seek out this letter because, like I said, it has gone viral. It's being picked up by all major media houses, and it's worth the read. But go ahead, caller.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Neary.
It's always a pleasure. Go ahead.
Yeah, Father Campbell taught me religious knowledge. Naomi Dean Campbell, a great lady. I agree with all her sentiments. You know, the thing is, there was a gentleman who called Dwight, and he quoted from the Bible, and he was talking about slavery, and this is the reason why we were enslaved, et cetera, right? And so that's, maybe you should contemplate that Abraham had 8 sons, and why is it that the Bible only talk about the descendants of Jacob? So the Bible is, obviously, it is adulterated by man, because what happened to the other sons of Abraham? So I guess God condoned genocide and mass enslavement of people. They have to understand, slavery existed before European slavery. Slavery existed in the East. But it was not chattel slavery. It was not based on racism. So in his ignorance, he's using the Bible as the proof text, which in the Bible can be used as a proof text and anything. So I just wanted to stop that narrative. It doesn't sound healthy psychologically, all right? And it shows that we are lost, judging from the text that came in, trying to disagree with Naomi Dean Campbell. And what she's talking about is multifaceted. It shows how very limited we are as a people. And so those are the people, there's no hate about William and Kate, you know. The people, if they sick about it, be like me, just don't tune into it. I don't have to go to where to see them. I don't know if you understand, you have the right, just don't tune in. That's all. Have a good day, man.
Excellent point. Is there another caller before I go to? Okay, let's play those voice notes from Dr. Naomi Campbell Dean.
So, why should we be concerned about this visit, or what does this visit say about the relationship to the Bahamas and the royal family? I think that the royal family is visiting the Bahamas because they are, in fact, concerned about our relationship to the crown and their relationship to other constituencies within the Commonwealth. We see that Trinidad, Guyana, Dominica, and now Barbados are republics. They've pulled away from having the Queen as the head of the monarchy. And next year, we're going to be 50 years old as a country. How long do we need to have this figurehead or this symbol representing us? Because what is she really doing for us in our nation? What have you done for me lately? To quote our good Janet Jackson. So I think that it's time for us as a country to really begin to grapple with these questions and say, as a sovereign nation, as a 50-year-old sovereign nation, what do we want to do to state, to represent, to demonstrate to our children that we believe in ourselves and that we can do it in and of ourselves? In regards to the Bahamas paying for it, I feel that this is ridiculous because the Bahamas is a member state of the CARICOM Reparations Commission. This is a 14-member state that is petitioning to former enslavers and colonizers for the crimes against humanity of the genocide of the original people of this land, enslavement as perpetrated through the transatlantic slave trade and colonialism. And so in that, we are saying, no, you owe us. Why are we paying you? We've been paying you. We've been paying you with our lives, with our culture, with our language, with our religion. We paid you already, and you stole it. So what else do we owe you? In fact, it's now time for you to pay up on your debt. And that is the position of the Bahamas National Reparations Committee, as well as the CARICOM Reparations Committee. So this is not just a position of a few of us here in the Bahamas, right? This is a position that persons throughout the Caribbean are making, and quite frankly, Africans throughout the diaspora are calling for reparations. It is indeed the great civil rights movement of the 21st century. And so I think that this is a time for us to take this visit, right? Because they clearly, they're not going to be doing anything without an agenda. And so I think that we need to clearly outline what our agenda is in regards to this visit. And I think that as a 50-year-old nation, our agenda can be more than to just show off what we have done, what we have, and who our people are. Because we know that we're a beautiful people. We know that we're a resilient people. We know that we made it through Dorian, right? We know that we have great frontline healthcare workers. So what do we now want to get out of this relationship? And how can we begin to verbalize that and demonstrate that to ourselves as well as to the monarchy? And finally, one of the ironic things about this visit, you know, everybody now is looking at Russia and saying, how horrible, you know, this big bad bully of a country has just decided that they want Ukraine for themselves. And how noble of the Ukrainians to say, no, we're not going to allow you to just take us. And so it's just kind of ironic that we can see that so clearly in the case of Russia and the Ukraine. But this is the exact same thing that the British monarchy did all over the world for hundreds and hundreds of years, you know, through the crimes. And these aren't, when we say crimes against humanity, we're not just using this as hyperbole, right? Hyperbole. This is what the United Nations has declared the transatlantic slave trade to be a crime against humanity. So when the British were enforcing or on their rampage, right, that the sun shall never set on the British Empire, and taking over these countries and saying, oh, I want that one. France, which one y'all want? Spain, y'all get that one. Oh, Portugal, y'all want that? Oh, no, we could fight over that one, right? When they were splitting up Africa, stealing their people and shipping them out to all of these places, laboring them to death, right? Stealing their children, raping their wives. When they were doing all of this, they didn't see it as a problem. It was just part of how we are going to build our empire. But now you could see it as a problem in Russia. So if you could see it in Russia, you can see it in yourself. And you could recognize that the time to make amends, the time for justice, the time for healing is now. The time for reparations is now. And when we say reparations, we recognize that this is a reparations movement, is the 10-point plan as laid out by the CARICOM Reparations Commission. That we're not just talking about cut us a check and we're done, because there's no amount of money that can compensate for these crimes that have been committed. But there has to be a reckoning for the underdevelopment that was left in the wake, for the underdevelopment in education, in healthcare, in culture, in systems, for the debt that we were left with. There has to be a reckoning for those things. And so we want to, as a National Reparations Committee and as Bahamian people in general, be made aware of what cost we have already paid and that we're no longer willing to pay. We're no longer willing to pay. And we, as in the words of Tony McKay, are saying it's time for you now to pay me what you owe me.
And that was Dr. Campbell Dean. We are no longer willing to pay. There needs to be a time of reckoning. We need to know how we see ourselves. We need to find out how this benefits the Bahamas, this relationship. And I would like to recognize the British government for their response and coming to our aid immediately after Hurricane Dorian, right? They were the first international ship before our defense force was able to access Abaco. When there was a delay of 2-3 days, the British Navy landed and rendered assistance to Bahamas. So I just want to recognize them and say thank you at this present time. But we're going to have a short commercial break as we trod down to the end of the show. I heard that the police had to run the RAS system. The RAS system were protesting, and the police said, no, you got to move, or at least put down your signs. And the Rasta said, no, we plan to chant it down Babylon. We'll be right back.
Always on the go? Missed the show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
Loss of family members is very isolating, and people who have experienced loss appreciate when others have shared their grief. If you can't be there in person, go to the Nassau Guardian's website online at thenassauguardian.com and visit our obituary link. The Nassau Guardian's interactive obituary link allows you to read the funeral announcement, express condolences, or place photos on the online guest book for 1 full year. Losing a loved one is painful, but that pain isn't the worst thing to happen. Friends, loved ones, colleagues, and neighbors who ignore the loss compound the pain. Should the bereaved family wish to place the obituary and photos on our obituary site, just contact the Guardian's Funeral Industry Partners or the Nassau Guardian. Remember, there isn't one magic right thing to say to someone experiencing loss that will make the loss less painful or easier to bear. The Nassau Guardian's obituary link, available online at thenassauguardian.com.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
And I have another text here. It says, great show as usual. We will be in the same place in 20 years because we have an identity crisis. We don't know who we are as a people, and we mimic everyone else's culture. And we got to a point where we don't even know our own culture. That's one texter. Another text says, okay. Ask our citizens, why don't we take pride and stop polluting our environment? Now it is clean. Will our citizens have pride and keep it clean? There's another text says, there have been reparations in many ways over the hundreds of years. Okay, that's interesting. Acknowledgement of the atrocity, keeping the atrocity in the topic and talks, opportunities for free education, and aid from many, many organizations. Are we as Black people changing our mindset and doing the work and taking, where is that? Taking what? And that got cut off. And I'm a little concerned, Texter. I see that we are demanding accountability, and you're saying that we don't deserve accountability. We don't deserve anything. And I'm a little concerned about where you're going with that, right? I saw that text. I'm not going to read that one. Say, don't take for granted the word royal in front of the word Royal Bank. the police, defense force, the crown land, etc. Mr. Nuri, good morning. Are we able to defend our country and people? Can we feed ourselves? What can we do to become a republic? The Bahamas is a wealthy country. Do your research from your mayor of Grand Bahama. And there is a concern that whether we should continues to have connections with Britain. And yes, and we should have partnership with the United States. But I have one more caller before I play my last clip. Go ahead, caller. Make it quick so I can play my last clip.
Hey, CA, good afternoon and good morning, Bahamas. Listen, we sound like we don't know how to get over. The past is the past. Get over it. You know, we as Bahamians, whatever was done to us, I ain't gonna trade the Bahamas for Africa. I ain't trying to go to Africa. So there was some benefits. It's unfortunate. I would take whatever they could give us. Sure, they gave reparations to the Jews, to the Japanese,
to everybody else except us.
Everyone else, I accept that, and I'd like to get some. But you know what?
Go ahead.
I'm doing pretty okay here in the Bahamas. A lot of us are doing pretty okay. We won't trade for some countries in Africa, so we need to get over it and stop this, this bitterness. You know, we could demand, and we need to stop this servitude that we given the royalty. And I don't know what expense we have to put out for these people that parade in the street right now in traffic at the roundabout waiting for them to pass. We worship these people, you know, and it's unfortunate. One day we'll get over it. Thanks for your time, brother.
Thanks very much. And who gets reparations to Texas says? All black people? What about biracial? What about white people who great-great-grandfather or mother was black? Who decides, ma? Many Hispanic people are that olive color because of blacks in their history. So do they get reparations too? And I think reparations will be nationally. You know, it's not going to be to specific black people. I don't think so. Especially in the Bahamas where everybody's black, right? They have that 1% or 2%, right? You can't say it to every white person to get offended. But the point is, if the country itself gets reparations, and the reparations may be in the forms of educational opportunities, in forms of investment, the whole country benefits. And that is what the cry is. We can be further if those who committed the crimes against humanity give back. And I have my next clip. I find that our prime minister is hinting towards reparations. And he hinted at reparations towards the Duke. So I'm going to play the next clip, and I want you to see if you hear our prime minister asking for that reparation, because I'm going to highlight it. Go ahead with the last clip for me, please.
I think it is really timely that he's here to be able to carry back the message that I gave him in respect to our challenges in accessing climate funding for our adaptation mitigation against the rise in sea levels and the devastating hurricanes that we are bound to continue to have. And what is interesting about that as well, in discussing that aspect of this space, I did point out to him that you know, the most of our debt, and we are heavily indebted, but I dare say that at least 50% of our debt is directly related to the consequences of climate change, with hurricanes and the disruption in our economy when we do have hurricanes, and when we have property damage over the last 5 or 6 years in the billions, $4 or $5 billion. So we can see the challenge that we have, and I think he took that on and was very interested in how whatever influence he could have to bring to bear on the world, particularly the countries that are the culprits in emissions, to come to the table.
And that's the Prime Minister asking the Prince to speak on our behalf, to ask the international world, those with power, those with influence, those with money, to invest in the Bahamas because we have some climate issues, right? That's a type of reparation that can definitely benefit the Bahamas. And I am glad that he brought it up. I'm not sure if the Prince took it in because he's on vacation and doing a tour. But the idea that our Prime Minister has made climate change and such the mantra of this government, right? And to get carbon credits, that's the right word, to demand carbon credits and negotiating for carbon credits, because there are significant countries who are willing to pay us because of our ocean. That can be a form of reparation, right? I got a text here who said that don't forget that there are white people who are Africans. And I hear you, but when I say Africans, I mean a race, right? Those who originate from Africa, right? There are white people who are Ethiopians. There are white people who are South Africans. There are white people who are Congolese. There are white people who are Nigerians. But when I said Africans, I mean the persons who originate from Africa. I see they already start the ending of of the show, even though I have 3 minutes still. But I will continue to read the text as that go on, right? Said that we beg too much and that we need to stop begging, you know? Great show as usual, and I read that text. And I want to conclude with this. We as Bahamians need to find out where we want to be in this world, right? We need to see that whether we want to be still under the colonial ropes or we want to be completely independent, then we need to understand what does independence mean, especially in this global arena where we need friends, where we know that Britain will come to our aid, where we know that United States will come to our aid. So when we speak these brash talks, we need to remember that perhaps, and remember that we need friends, and that our connection to these friends is based on our survivability, right? But as we march forward, as we march towards celebrating our 50th year of independence, right? Our own jubilee, I need us to celebrate. All white Bahamians, black Bahamians, the Hispanic Bahamians, the Haitian Bahamians must come together and find out what it is that we want to see ourselves as. What is our identity? What makes us true Bahamians? You know, what is this mixed match, this conch salad? And we need to, if the conch salad has pineapples and mango in it, that's good too. But this has been Guardian Radio AM. This is C.A. Nuri. I had the pleasure talking to you as we discuss being true Bahamian. Take care, and I see you next week.